So once every 3 years, we get the parable of the talents, conveniently located during stewardship season. So it's kind of like a softball, you know? You just nail this one out of the park because God gave us these gifts, and we should give them back to God. The talents and the gifts we have. Please fill out your pledge card in the back, and we're grateful for that. But since Robin back there, my friend, has told me that sermon should last longer than it takes her to drive. She lives in the Claremont area. I should probably keep going. And it starts to make me wonder as I think about this parable a little bit longer, why indeed Jesus would be telling a bunch of Galilean fishermen, his disciples, this story. It must have struck them. It's quite odd. Because we're talking about $2 to $3 million worth of assets that this master is getting to be invested. And then he goes away. And these fishermen are probably wondering, I wonder why God is this person who's giving this money to the servants, but instead, who's this guy that got all this money? Where did he get it in the first place? In a society where people with that kind of money got it from having a lot of land and then giving loans to poor farmers, but then if their crops died, they would dispossess those folks from the land and take that land as loan collateral. Those are the folks that these fishermen are thinking about. And so they're going to be pretty suspicious of who this person was. They wouldn't immediately connect him with God. And frankly, the person in the parable that they would be connected with is the last servant, because that's probably what they would have done too. Somebody handed them a talent, which is 15 years of day labor, and said, okay, invest that for me. They probably would have dug a hole in the ground and said, okay, we'll just keep that here, and gone back out and casted their nets again. And they probably would have been pretty concerned, like they should be, because they knew that guy was going to come back, and probably expected them to do something with money, but they didn't. Jesus tells the story on the Mount of Olives, looking over Jerusalem 2 days before the Passover. Thinking about what is to happen. Why does he tell the disciples this story? Why does he use such big numbers? So much money. And why is it that, at least speaking for myself, it's so easy for this parable to make sense to me? That there's a couple folks that have been given some money to invest, and that they do make 100% return over the space of a long journey. So I don't know how long you think this journey is. But at a 5% return, that would take 14 and a half years. At a 12% return, that would take 6 years. And if this journey is less than 6 years, man, they're either good businessmen indeed, or we've got some sort of payday loan scheme going on, right? Why is this so natural to us? It's because we live in a country and a society and a time where people do find those sort of profits. Frankly, we live in a time where those who have end up with more, and those who don't have end up with even less. Just see if y'all just guess here to keep trying to get our heads around what a talent is. So if a talent was equal to $1 today, how much do you think the disciples, how much do you think Judas betrayed Jesus for? The talent was $1. How much is 30 pieces of silver? No guesses. 2 cents. That's like a huge sum, enough for Judas to betray his teacher. It was for those 2 cents. And then this master gave 5 talents to somebody. which was literally like 60 pounds of silver. You had to like cart off 300 pounds. And somehow doubled it in the space of a journey. So, I wish I could tell you today exactly what the parable of the talents means, and I don't think there is one meaning. But I think the larger sort of question in here is, what does it mean when we are hearing these stories not as they were heard? What does it mean to not be a first century Galilean fisherman and still encounter stories like this? What are we missing? What are our blind spots? That should be kind of disturbing to us if we care about the Bible and what it's trying to teach us. Now, I can tell you 2 reasons why I don't think God was meant to be the master in this parable. One is that God doesn't give us something and then ditch us for 6 years or however long it is. And expect us to do something and then come back, right? God is with us the whole time. So God doesn't take off on a long journey and just not be in touch. The second thing is God doesn't give us something for God's benefit. God gives us things, our talents, our gifts, our very life, for our own enjoyments and benefit, and for the benefit of the world. So if God comes back and, for whatever reason, we didn't do what we were supposed to do with what God gave us, then God isn't going to be pissed, personally offended in some way. Because that wasn't the point. Maybe God's sad, but that's not God's response. Cast us off. I can only trust that Jesus knows the same God that I've experienced too in prayer. So, what Jesus was doing with that story. But I want to get back to this question about what it means to be in such a different social location today. To hear these stories in such a different way, and there's questions about what the blind spots are, what we're missing. And it kind of makes me wonder that maybe we should be doing Bible studies with more people, not just people like ourselves. If the mission of St. Luke's is to create spaces to form life-changing relationships with God and each other across lines of privilege and prejudice, maybe the Bible can facilitate that. Maybe the Bible and its stories can open up spaces for us to think differently and encounter God in different ways. What if we study the Bible with the dispossessed? What if we studied the Bible and encountered it from the underside? What if we read stories of the lepers with the homeless in the midst of hepatitis A outbreak? I know I personally, as I walked to the office this morning, don't shake hands with as many people as I used to. I was so free before, I'd be shaking hands with people. And I think about it more now. What does it mean to read the Bible with the homeless? What are our experiences with the women's Bible study? I haven't had the privilege to attend it, but the Bible studies that have been happening at St. Luke's look like these would be the same kind of wonderful spaces to hear from more people. And I'll tell you one reason why that's good. Because truth is so complicated, so complex. It's like these parables that are so tough to crack. For example, the truth that in the last year, a lot has been happening in St. Luke's. A lot has changed. You can still see the difference in color between these floorboards because the pews were in a different place. Until today, you didn't even know what we were saying because the sound system didn't work. And how we all are experiencing that must be different. We have people here who've never known St. Luke's in this different, or in any different arrangement here. We have people who've been here literally 60 years. And so today, after the worship service, we're going to invite you, and we hope everyone can stay, to just a kind of town hall meeting, to basically just share your experiences, good or bad, joys, concerns, hopes, frustrations about those changes. Because it is sort of like a parable. It's complex and there is no sort of one meaning, but together I think if we really can hear from everyone's perspective, if we can really hear from all voices, I think we come to something better. We'll try to do that today and create that space for them. For some reason, God put us all together. We who have come from so many different places, so many backgrounds and experiences. What a gift that is. Especially if we can figure out ways to really listen and hear each other. Across the divides that can be so difficult, language and culture, every form of privilege and prejudice, when we can do that, good things happen. Man, it is tough. I hope the Bible can help us with that. I think we can see how that can work in today's parable.